Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your next winter storm, which is going to be impacting areas through the Midwest, Great Lakes, and into the interior and Northeast, with quite a bit of snowfall on the order of about 6 to 12 inches in some areas in northern New England, as well as areas closer to the Great Lakes, where you could see quite a bit of snowfall as well. And we're going to be breaking down this system as well by looking at a couple of the models, as well as my personal snowfall and rainfall forecast, which is updated from yesterday's video, where yesterday we had a much further north track than what we do have today, and I'm going to be updating you guys on this winter storm, which is going to be impacting areas into the Great Lakes, Midwest, and interior Northeast. So make sure you do watch the entire video so that you do get all the information that I am going to present with you in this video. Now, to start off with the National Weather Service, winter weather advisories through Nebraska, Kansas, through the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, and into easternmost Colorado and Wyoming. We also have another area there of winter weather advisories through parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, through the lower part of Michigan, as well as winter storm watches there. For areas into northern New England and into upstate New York, where I am expecting about 6 to 12 inches for many of those areas. And those areas are probably going to go under some winter storm warnings as you get later on with the system, as the system starts to approach nearer and nearer. Now, we also have red flag warnings in effect for some high fire risks over parts of southernmost Texas and New Mexico, and wind advisories there for the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, as well as easternmost New Mexico. We also have another batch there of wind advisories for areas into near the Houston area, and then also getting to Southern California and southernmost Nevada, getting some wind advisories there. Now, here's your surface analysis map from the Weather Prediction Center, which they do release every about 3 hours. Now, it shows you where your low pressures and your high pressures are, as well as your frontal systems. You have this broader low pressure system, which would be somewhere right around Kentucky, Ohio, from this image that they posted. Now, we have a cold front dragging down south, and this is really what's allowing some snowfall to actually break out in isolated amounts over areas into northern Illinois, Missouri, through southern most Wisconsin and Iowa, as well as southern Michigan. Is going to start breaking out with some snowfall soon. So definitely, you guys are probably already receiving some snowfall, and definitely let me know how much snowfall you do get if you are affected by this system in the comments down below. I always love hearing how much snowfall you guys do receive, and I also it also gives me a good chance to to kind of match it up with my forecast and see how much I was forecasting and how much you actually received, and that also helps me improve my forecast. Now, this low pressure system is going to be moving pretty much to the north and east on a northeast trajectory all the way until you hit about Boston, and then it's going to move off to sea. And this is going to be bringing incredibly heavy snowfall as you get into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and through parts of the interior northeast. So here's the European model forecast as far as precipitation. Now, we have some snowfall breaking out over parts of northern Illinois depicted with this model. We have rain ahead of this, and you start to see the system really start to develop. You have the system slightly noticeable here, kind of a little opening with this precipitation, a broader low pressure system sat up over parts of eastern Kentucky, and you can kind of tell that the way that these showers are moving, it's not too noticeable on this frame, but as we continue this, it'll definitely get a little bit more noticeable that you have low pressure system sat over parts of Ohio, West Virginia, and getting there into Pennsylvania. Now we have this snow over parts of northern Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and into southern Michigan, as well, starting to break out over upstate New York and northern Pennsylvania as we get into early on Wednesday. Now, later on Wednesday, getting around your noon time, you're starting to see some heavier snowfall start to break out over Detroit, Indiana, Ohio, and through Illinois. Snow or rainfall on the eastern and southern side of this, where you could get a good arm of rainfall to move through the southeast. Now, this would be by Wednesday night. Now, getting into your Wednesday morning, or Thursday morning, you start to see heavier snow start to break out into the foothills of West Virginia, mixing through the valleys of Pennsylvania and into areas into Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, seeing some pretty heavy snowfall at this time, which would be right around your midnight time period, and then as you start getting earlier on Thursday, getting right around when you're waking up, you start to see some pretty good heavy snowfall break out over parts of western New York, and this is really going to be something that we have to watch. And I definitely think this is a possibility that this does happen. I don't think it's going to be at the same strength that the European puts this at, where it's showing maybe 2 inch per hour rates with this in some areas. So definitely, I don't think it's going to be that intense. And the European is also showing 1.5 foot amounts for those areas. I don't think that's going to happen, and you'll see that in my snowfall and rainfall forecast at the end of the video, which I'll talk more about my personal forecast once we get to the end of the video. Now, let's move over to a northeast perspective of what's going to happen. Now, you start to see snowfall break out over northern New England getting through Thursday morning, and now getting into Thursday afternoon and evening. It's starting to move over northernmost New Hampshire and the northern side of Maine. As well, you have some wraparound snow showers as you get this cold air, which is going to be pressing into the eastern United States after this system goes by. You're going to have this very cold air that's going to allow for some wraparound snowfall to occur. Your low pressure at this point would be centered right around somewhere. Your surface low would be somewhere in upstate New York, but your upper level low would most likely be somewhere in parts of eastern, near Albany, New York. There now, very heavy snowfall still going on over parts of northern New Hampshire and Maine as you get later on in Thursday, and now getting into Friday morning. You're starting to see just some lake effect snow persist throughout the interior Northeast, and potentially a couple of those could make it to the coast, as you will have some pretty heavy winds move through on Friday. So definitely, if you do live in the coastal regions of the Northeast, don't rule out a passing snow shower or two. Shouldn't be too climactic though, as it'll only be probably 10-15 minutes of some snow. Now, here's your total snowfall that's going to be shown by the European model. Anywhere in the blue, that's about 2 to 6 inches, and then 6 to 10 inches in the purples. If you do get into those pinks, that's about 10 to 20 inches, and then in the pinks, or kind of in those lighter pinks, you start to see 20 to 30 inches, and then if you do get in those aquas, which is popping up a little bit there over Canada, you could get over 30 inches depicted by this model. Now, here's your area that's in 2 to 6 inches, and those are through the foothills of West Virginia, through central Illinois, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, southern and eastern Michigan, and into parts of western Pennsylvania, western upstate New York, as well as northern upstate New York, and into areas into northern New England as well. You have this the main kind of band of snowfall that's moving through, and this would be your main area where you'd see the most snowfall from the system, and it's going to be your primary band of snowfall that's going to move through. Snowfall totals decreased a couple of inches from yesterday's run of the European model, or 2 runs ago from the European, from the one that I showed you in yesterday's video, but I do think these are a little bit more accurate. I think the European was a little bit on the higher side as in terms of the amount of snowfall it was showing in yesterday's model. Now, here's the northeast view of this, and you see over parts of northern Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, you are seeing quite a bit of snowfall, especially over northern Maine and New Hampshire. As you get into those more hilly and mountainous regions there, you could pick up 1.5 feet easily over many of these areas, definitely over a foot in a lot of these areas over northern Maine and northern New Hampshire. As well, you could have a little bit of lake enhancement near the lakes there in upstate New York, northern upstate New York, as well western upstate New York could see quite a bit of snowfall according to the European model, and really that all depends on whether you can get this bombing out cyclone or a storm system to really dump all this heavy snowfall. And this is a really band of snowfall that's all from this system really, according to the European, intensifying and the surface low pressure moving to the north, bring a lot of snowfall to these areas. So here's your surface track and your total snowfall here. Now, here's your surface track, and this is going to be a storm going from the 25th through the 28th here. Now, this storm is going to move through West Virginia, Pennsylvania, lower upstate New York, and into much of Massachusetts as you get through the 26th, 27th, and the 28th. Under an inch of snowfall can be expected through areas into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, through Michigan, Ohio, and into West Virginia, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and into all of northern New England there. 1 to 3 inches of snowfall for the foothills of West Virginia, through Missouri, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, pretty much a lot of Michigan through the southern half of lower Michigan, and then all of the upper peninsula there, and northern Ohio, as well as northwest Pennsylvania, and western and northern upstate New York, as well as, again, much of northern New England, except for the coastal areas there. 3 to 6 inches for northernmost Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, as well as Indiana and Illinois, as well as southernmost Michigan there under that 3 to 6 inch area. 6 to 12 inches for two areas. We have one for northern New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, as well as another area there for westernmost upstate New York and northwesternmost Pennsylvania, and then also for northeasternmost parts of Ohio. So really right around the Buffalo, Erie, and then Cleveland area, probably seeing those 6 to 12 inch amounts. And I think those areas closer to the lakes could receive maybe up to 10 inches, but nothing like what the European was showing of 10 or of about 15 inches of snowfall in some of those areas. Under an inch of rainfall can be expected pretty much everywhere from Arkansas, Louisiana eastward could expect under an inch of rainfall. Now, that is going to wrap it up with today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications as I do make these videos daily, and I would greatly appreciate the support. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's videos. That was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.